It was supposed to be a routine stop. A Brinks armored truck loaded with millions in jewelry and luxury goods parked quietly outside a California trade show. But after a 300-mile journey of tracking the vehicle, the thieves finally jumped at their chance. Thieves struck with surgical precision. No alarms, no witnesses. By the time the guards realized what had happened, the truck was stripped of its precious cargo. Millions gone without a trace. Authorities call it one of the largest jewelry heists in U.S. history. But the big question is how? Was it an inside job, a sophisticated criminal network, or something even more terrifying? This is the story of the Brinks, California heist. So in a landmark development reported in June of 2025, last month, federal authorities announced charges against 7 Southern California men in connection with the July 2022 Brinks truck robbery in Lebec, California. This audacious crime, which saw an estimated $100 million in gold, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and luxury watches vanish, has been officially designated by federal prosecutors as the largest jewelry heist in U.S. history.
That's bananas.
Yeah. And and honestly, the simplicity of it all is what makes, to me, it's so interesting. And I'll get into some of that. So the heist occurred in the early hours of July 11th, 2022, specifically around 2 a.m. Pacific time at a Flying J truck stop. We've all been at those, situated in Lebec, Central California. Now, the alleged criminal enterprise engaged in extensive preparatory work, meaning they spent 3 days from July 8th to July 10th, 2022, actively scouting an international jewelry show in San Mateo, California. So it's just one of those, everyone comes in, they're marketing. It's a lot of small and large places to trade and buy jewelry. And so they knew this thing was happening. It was being advertised.
Yeah.
And so they're scouting it out.
Like a rock and gem show.
Yeah. Or like gun shows. It's that kind of a thing. So on the evening of July 10th, the suspects identified their primary target, a Brinks truck being loaded with 73 bags containing millions of dollars in jewelry. And this was destined for another exhibition in Pasadena, California. So 6 of the 7 defendants embarked on a relentless pursuit, tailing the armored truck for approximately 300 miles south across California. Their journey took them to Buttonwillow and ultimately to Lebec. So they're just scouting this out. They're taking their time. They've got 6 guys that are they're not going to jump. They're going to do this the right way. And so I talked about this stop on July 11th at 2 a.m. At that Flying J truck stop. And so one of the drivers there's 2 guys in the truck. It's a big semi. And one of the drivers exited the vehicle for approximately 27 to 30 minutes to retrieve food and just take a break. Well, the second driver or the second passenger remained asleep inside the truck.
I was just smiling because he went to retrieve food. It was very proper.
It's very proper. Retrieve food, deposit waste,
whatever
he was
excrement.
doing. Yeah. So there was no direct confrontation. There was no guns being pointed. They opened up the back of the truck, and of the 73 bags of valuables, they took 24 of the bags.
And they were still was $100 million. $100
million. And it's so interesting because there's some body cam footage of the police officers interviewing the driver who said, I was inside for 20 minutes just taking a break. And he didn't really see anything. And they open up the truck, and it's just this empty semi with a bunch of bags near the front, and everything else is empty, and a bunch of bags are gone. That's all they were hauling. It was not even interesting looking.
Yeah.
It was
probably the point.
Yeah. And so the question being is were the drivers in on it? Was it an inside job? And the authorities say, no, it's not an inside job. These guys had no clue. But again, there's no confrontation here, right? So
It's just like a scene out of a movie, though, like, where the guy's like sleeping in the car, and they're
Yeah.
tiptoeing to the back and
Right.
just hauling 20 some bags out. Do you think those guys still have their jobs?
Yeah, I doubt it. And the other part of what that jewelry is, because it was from this jewelry show, a lot of this was small time folks who, if they don't get it back, they've lost it forever.
Yeah.
So there was high value Rolex timepieces and a distinctive lavender jade stone among the jewels that were in these bags. So they transported their immense haul to the East Hollywood neighborhood in Los Angeles, and they took a crucial step, which was they deactivated all their cell phones that they had been communicating on, and essentially went dark after that. So they got away, they deactivated their phones, and they probably thought they were home free. And that, again, remember, that's 2022. And it takes until just last month, June 2025, to get busted. And there was no one thing that cracked it. And it's been described as almost like collaboration with the various agencies. Is very boring and detective work-ish. They're not being real specific until the trial.
Yeah, it's just like I'm picturing I went on a date with this guy and went back to his house, and there were like bags of gemstones and gold bricks laying around, and he lives in a little apartment in East Hollywood.
Well, and think about it too. The jewelry is a little bit easy. I mean, it's easier to kind of sell individually and get rid of over time.
Yeah.
Just through a variety of mechanisms.
What do you do with a 20-carat gemstone, though?
True. Well, one of the things that they found was a pattern among these guys. Once they kind of discovered a little bit more about what was going on, there was 3 other trucks at rest stops that were targeted earlier in 2022. The first one was Samsung Electronics theft. 4 of the men allegedly stole $240,000 plus worth of Samsung Electronics from a cargo shipment in Ontario, California. The second one, which was really weird to me, which is an Apple AirTags robbery. The things that the things you use to track people and things. They robbed a box truck driver of $57,000 plus worth of Apple AirTags, which is so strange to me, right?
Yeah, that's really backwards from logical. I mean, maybe they didn't know. Maybe they thought there were cell phones or something inside, or laptops or whatever.
And then that one of the robbers brandished a knife and threatened the driver. So they kind of, that was an incident, a confrontation. So that wasn't a secret one, right? And then the last one was attempting to steal a truck at a Fontana rest stop using a crowbar, although this attempt failed. On the same day, they subsequently succeeded in stealing approximately $14,000 plus worth of Samsung Electronics again in another interstate shipment in Fontana, California. So they were using this as their thing, as just essentially hijacking semi-trucks with their cargo, knowing that it's likely going to be electronics or in the first case, jewelry.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm just, I wonder. I mean, they knew that the truck had jewelry, right? I mean, that's why they targeted that specific ones. I mean, they really stepped up their game. They got TVs and AirTags, and now they're going for $100 million in jewelry. Man, that's wild.
Doesn't that seem easy?
That's
though?
So brazen. Yeah, it seems like it. Everything seems like it, but it's just so brazen to do that. I don't. Number one, even if I ended up with all these jewels and stuff, I wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. I wouldn't know where to take it to sell it.
It makes you wonder when you're driving down the highway and you just see a regular old semi truck and it's nondescript. Do you ever wonder, I wonder what's in there? Is there a warhead in there? Is there $100 million worth of jewelry? Is there Knight Rider? Is the Knight Rider in there? What's going on? You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna wonder now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like the what jewelry? What jewel was it? The crown jewel or the some diamond? What was it? Very, very, very famous.
Yeah.
And they shipped it through the U.S. mail. Do you remember that? You know what I'm talking about?
Right, and we also talked about Fort Knox, like getting
Yeah.
things to and from people and things into Fort Knox, like the Magna Carta, and like you didn't use the most obvious thing,
Yeah.
you used the least obvious thing. So here, just like bags of jewelry and just like you got to be more careful about this stuff.
Clearly,
Sean, you got to be more. Sean, you got to be more careful about this stuff.
Yeah, I will never ship my millions in jewelry with that company again. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So we'll share some of the photos of some of the loot that they recovered and the body cam of the police where they're looking inside and all that stuff. But yeah, crazy stuff. It's just interesting how I think important it was for police and investigators to tell everyone this is the biggest jewelry heist in U.S. history. Like that was a very specific point in their press release, in the news coverage that came out. Like they wanted to make a big deal of it because they made a big bust and it took them a number of years to get to. So like there's a little bit of positioning around that too that I thought interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like when like drug enforcement officers get a big bust of like cocaine,
Right?
they, like kilos of cocaine, and
they lay it out.
they're all like standing there next to it. I mean, that's got to be a problem when that's your job and you actually do it in a big way.
Yeah, they never stack it. They lay it out flat so it looks bigger.
Yeah.
So that's my story for this week. We'll see you again next week on
See
How
y'all.
It All Went South.